The Sterling Club was the kind of restaurant where reservations were made months in advance, and CEOs conducted their most important business over $100 steaks. Catherine Hayes had worked there as a server for 3 years, navigating the entitled demands of wealthy diners with practiced grace. At 28, she was saving every penny for nursing school, working double shifts, dreaming of a career where she could actually help people instead of just bringing them overpriced food. But the tips at the Sterling Club were excellent, and beggars couldn't be choosers. She was refilling water glasses when she heard it, a child crying. Not the whining of a kid who didn't get dessert, but real, heartbroken sobs that cut through the refined atmosphere like a knife. Catherine turned to see a man in an expensive suit trying desperately to comfort a boy, maybe 5 years old, who was crying so hard he could barely breathe. Every diner in the vicinity was staring, some with sympathy, most with irritation that their expensive meal was being disrupted. The maitre d' was already heading over, his expression suggesting the situation needed to be resolved immediately. Catherine intercepted him. "Let me try," she said quietly. "Catherine, that's Mr. Ethan Westfield. He's one of our most valued clients. If his son is having a meltdown, then maybe he needs help, not judgment. 5 minutes." She approached the table carefully. The man, Ethan Westfield apparently, looked up with exhausted, desperate eyes. "I'm so sorry," he said. "I don't know what's wrong. He was fine 10 minutes ago, and then—" The boy's sobs intensified. "Maybe we should just leave." "May I try something?" Catherine asked gently. Ethan looked at her like she was offering him a lifeline. "Please." Catherine knelt beside the boy's chair, putting herself at his eye level. "Hey there. I'm Catherine. What's your name?" The boy hiccuped, tears streaming down his red face. "Tommy." "Hi, Tommy, that's a great name. Can you tell me what's wrong?" "I want milk," Tommy sobbed. "But Daddy says they don't have milk here. They only have grown-up drinks. And I really, really want milk." Catherine looked around at the formal restaurant, at the wine list longer than some novels, at the complete absence of anything kid-friendly. "You know what? I think we can find some milk. But while I go get it, can you do me a favor?" Tommy sniffled. "What?" "Can you tell me about your favorite thing, like your favorite toy or game or animal?" "Dinosaurs," Tommy said, his crying already subsiding. "I like dinosaurs, especially T-Rexes. T-Rexes are the best. Do you know what sound they make?" For the next 5 minutes, while Catherine sent another server to literally run to the grocery store down the street for milk, she and Tommy discussed dinosaurs. By the time she returned with a glass of milk, plain, cold, exactly what a 5-year-old needed in a restaurant full of complicated cocktails, Tommy was calm and smiling. "Here you go, buddy. 1 glass of fresh milk, just for you." Tommy grabbed it like it was treasure, drinking deeply. "Thank you," he said, milk mustache and all. Catherine stood, finally looking at Ethan Westfield properly. He was handsome in that polished, wealthy way, but what struck her was the exhaustion in his eyes, the kind of tired that came from carrying too much for too long. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I didn't know what to do. We've been having these meltdowns lately, and I can't figure out what triggers them. If you don't mind me saying," Catherine said carefully, "he's not crying about milk. He's crying about something the milk represents. Comfort, maybe, normalcy, something maternal," Ethan finished quietly. "His mother died 8 months ago, brain aneurysm, sudden, no warning. One day she was making him breakfast, the next day she was gone." Catherine felt her heart break. "I'm so sorry. Thank you. We're managing. Some days better than others. Today is apparently not a better day." He looked at his son, who was contentedly drinking milk and coloring on the kid's menu Catherine had magically produced. "He just needs a mom. And I can't give him that." The words hung in the air. Catherine should have nodded sympathetically and walked away. Instead, she heard herself say, "He needs someone who sees him, who notices he's a 5-year-old kid in a grown-up restaurant who just wants milk and dinosaurs. You're doing that. It's enough. It doesn't feel like enough. It never does. But you showed up. You're trying. That matters." Something in Ethan's expression shifted. "Do you have children?" "No. But I grew up in foster care. 13 different homes before I aged out. I know what it feels like to need something you can't have. And I know that the parents who tried, who showed up even when they didn't know what they were doing, they're the ones I remember fondly. Ethan studied her. Thank you, for the milk, for understanding, for not making us leave any time. Catherine returned to her other tables, but she couldn't stop thinking about the little boy crying for milk and the father who was doing his best in impossible circumstances. A week later, Ethan Westfield requested her section specifically, and the week after that. Sometimes he brought Tommy, sometimes he came alone for business dinners. He always asked for Catherine, always left generous tips, always seemed genuinely interested in how she was doing. I think Mr. Westfield has a crush on you, her coworker Jenny teased. Don't be ridiculous. I'm the server who got his kid to stop crying once. That's all. Uh-huh. That's why he comes in 3 times a week and requests you specifically? Catherine dismissed it. Rich men didn't date working-class servers. That was rom-com fiction, not reality. Then came the dinner where everything changed. Ethan and Tommy arrived on a Thursday evening, Tommy clutching a drawing he'd made. Catherine, I made you a picture. It's a T-Rex eating a taco. Catherine accepted it with the seriousness it deserved. This is amazing. I'm hanging this in my locker. Thank you, Tommy. During the meal, Tommy fell asleep with his head on the table, exhausted from a long day. Ethan smiled sadly, stroking his son's hair. He talks about you constantly, Ethan said quietly. Catherine said this. Catherine would like that. You made an impression. He's a sweet kid. He is. And he's been through hell. We both have. Ethan hesitated. Catherine, can I ask you something personal? Sure. Why are you working here? You're clearly intelligent, compassionate, capable. This can't be your dream job. It pays for my dream. I'm saving for nursing school. Another year, maybe 2, and I'll have enough for tuition. What kind of nursing? Pediatrics. I want to work with kids. Help families going through medical crises. Be the person I wished existed when I was in foster care and everything was scary. Ethan looked at her for a long moment. Would you have dinner with me? Not here, somewhere casual, somewhere Tommy would like. Catherine's heart jumped. Are you asking me on a date? I'm asking if you'd consider spending time with me and my son outside this restaurant. Call it whatever you want. Mr. Westfield. Ethan, please. Ethan, I'm your server. This would be complicated. I know, but Catherine, I haven't felt this comfortable around anyone since my wife died. Tommy hasn't opened up to anyone the way he opened up to you. I'm not asking for anything serious, just dinner. Pizza, maybe. With a 5-year-old chaperone. Catherine knew all the reasons to say no. The power dynamic, the class difference, the fact that she was still saving every penny for school. But she looked at Tommy sleeping peacefully, at Ethan's hopeful expression, and couldn't find it in herself to refuse. Okay, pizza sounds good. That pizza dinner turned into more dinners, park visits, museum trips. Catherine got to know Tommy, his love of dinosaurs, his fear of thunderstorms, his habit of asking endless questions about everything. She got to know Ethan, the CEO who still made Tommy's breakfast every morning, who read bedtime stories in funny voices, who was trying desperately to be both parents to a boy who missed his mother. I'm falling for you, Ethan admitted 3 months in. They were sitting on his couch after putting Tommy to bed, the child monitor on the coffee table. I wasn't looking for this, wasn't ready for it. But Catherine, you've brought life back to this house. To us. I'm falling for you too, Catherine admitted. But Ethan, we need to be realistic. You're a billionaire CEO. I'm a server saving for nursing school. You live in a mansion. I live in a studio apartment with 2 roommates. How does this work? We figure it out together. And Catherine, about nursing school, if you're about to offer to pay for it, don't. I need to do this myself. I wasn't going to offer to pay for it. I was going to ask if you'd considered Columbia's nursing program. It's excellent, starts in January, and they have partnerships with pediatric hospitals across the city. Columbia? I can't afford Columbia. You might be able to with scholarships and financial aid. I have a friend on the admissions board. Not to pull strings, he added quickly, seeing her expression, but to make sure you know about resources available. You'd earn your spot. I'd just help you navigate the system. Catherine wanted to be offended by the presumption. Instead, she was touched by the careful way he'd researched her dreams, found ways to help without being condescending. "Okay," she said. "I'll look into it." She got into Columbia's nursing program, started classes while still working part-time, moved in with Ethan and Tommy, into the guest house initially, maintaining some independence but gradually spending more time in the main house until the guest house was just where she kept her textbooks. "Catherine, will you marry my daddy?" Tommy asked one evening, completely out of nowhere during dinner. Catherine choked on her water. Ethan looked mortified. "Tommy, we talked about this. That's not how you ask. But you said you wanted to marry her. You said she makes you happy and makes me happy and we should be a real family." Ethan's face was red. "I said that in private, buddy. But it's true, right?" Tommy looked between them. "Catherine, do you want to be my mom? I know you're not my real mom. But you read stories, right? And you know about dinosaurs, and you make Daddy smile. Could you be my mom anyway?" Catherine felt tears prick her eyes. "Tommy, I would be honored to be your mom, if you'll have me." "Really?" The hope in his voice killed her. "Really?" Ethan pulled out a ring box. Apparently he'd been carrying it around, waiting for the right moment. Tommy's interruption had taken that decision out of his hands. "Catherine Hayes, will you marry me? Will you be Tommy's mother and my wife and the person we come home to? I know we've only known each other for a year. I know this is fast, but I've never been more certain of anything." "Yes, absolutely yes." They married 6 months later. Catherine finished nursing school, got her dream job in pediatric oncology. Ethan cut back his hours at work, prioritized family dinners and Tommy's school events. They had a daughter 2 years later, a son the year after that. But Catherine never forgot that night at the Sterling Club, the little boy crying for milk. The moment she'd said, "He just needs a mom," not knowing she'd end up becoming exactly that. Years later, when Tommy was 15 and bringing his girlfriend home for dinner, Catherine found him in the kitchen. "You nervous?" she asked. "A little." "What if she doesn't like the dinner? What if—" "Tommy," Catherine smiled. "Remember when you were 5 and melted down in that restaurant because they didn't have milk?" He groaned. "Dad tells that story all the time. Do you remember what you really needed that night? It wasn't actually about the milk." Tommy thought about it. "I needed someone to see me. To understand that I was just a sad kid who missed his mom and everything felt wrong." "Exactly. Your girlfriend is coming, here nervous too. Just see her. Understand what she needs. Everything else will fall into place." "Is that how you knew? That night? How to help me?" "I knew because I'd been you. Different circumstances, but same feeling. Sometimes the best gift we can give someone is recognizing their pain and meeting them where they are. With milk and dinosaur facts. With whatever they need to feel less alone." At dinner, Tommy's girlfriend relaxed as the family made her feel welcomed. Afterward, she told Tommy, "Your family is so normal, so warm. I was expecting it to be intimidating because your dad is, you know, who he is. But your mom made me feel at home immediately." Tommy smiled. "That's her superpower. She sees people." Later, Catherine and Ethan stood in Tommy's doorway watching him sleep like they'd done countless times over the years. "I still think about that night," Ethan said. "How close I came to just leaving the restaurant. How I didn't know what to do and you just appeared with exactly what we needed. A glass of milk and patience. No, understanding, compassion. The willingness to see a struggling child instead of an inconvenience." Ethan pulled her close. "You said he needed a mom. You became that and so much more. I became what I needed when I was young, someone who saw past the crisis to the person underneath. Someone who stayed. I'm glad you stayed." "Me too. Because sometimes a crying child needs milk. Sometimes they need dinosaur facts. Sometimes they need someone who understands that the tantrum isn't about the immediate problem. It's about the grief and confusion and missing someone who's never coming back. And sometimes, when you show up for a 5-year-old boy, with compassion and a glass of milk, you end up finding your own family in the process. Not because you were looking for it, but because love has a way of growing in the spaces between helping and being helped, between seeing and being seen, between a child's tears and a parent's gratitude." If this story touched you, please like and share it with someone who knows that the smallest acts of kindness can change everything. Subscribe for more stories about finding family in unexpected places, and comment about a time when someone saw past your crisis to the person underneath. Those moments of being truly seen shape who we become.